our next guest back here on the Rich Eisen Show, the host of the Stinkin Truth Podcast, and fresh off of calling Raiders Commanders on Fox is our friend Mark Schlereth. Good to see you, Mark. How are you?
I am doing great. I've never had the chance to meet Rob Lowe, but my college buddies still call me Big Fat Rob.
Oh,
so yeah, that was my nickname in college. Was Big Fat Rob. I had back in the day. I had this mullet, and I was pretty fit and ripped, and so they used to call me Big Fat Rob Lowe. And so anyhow, I've never had the chance to meet him. I always wanted to because of the moniker that was bestowed upon me, but I never had that opportunity.
I would imagine being called any size of Rob Lowe is good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
if any hearkening to his looks. You'll take big, fat, little, you know what I mean? Like all of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? As long as it ends with Rob Lowe, then you're good.
Yeah, I never had an issue. Big Bob. They call me Big Bob Lucky, Big Fat Rob,
Big Bob.
whatever it was. I'm like, I'm in. That's awesome.
Mark Schlereth here. All right, let's just jump right into it, Mark. Your level of concern for Ashton Jeanty, having seen what you saw, having talked to the staff, as I'm sure you did leading up to the broadcast of Raiders and Commanders, what is your concern level for Ashton Jeanty, even though it's just 3 games for him?
My concern level for him as a player, when I hear people say, oh, he doesn't have it or he's not the guy, that's foolishness.
Okay.
That kid is, I think I've heard you say it before in regards to Mo Jones-Drew, a bowling ball of butcher knives. Like, he is going to be a really good player. I think one of the things you have to understand is for running backs, and I watched in my career, playing with Terrell Davis as a rookie go for 1,100, and then as a second-year player go for 1,400, and then as a third-year player goes for 1,700, and then as a fourth-year player go for 2,000. And part of that understanding is it's more than just knowing what you're supposed to do. It's knowing what the defense is doing. What is the strength of the defense? What is the weakness of the defense? And how do I adjust based on those things pre-snap? So let me give you a for instance. All of a sudden you're playing what we call a 25 front, meaning the Will backer is off the ball, the Mike is off the ball, but the Sam is lined up on the edge, outside eye of the tight end. Well, when you get that, if you're calling that, let's call it strong right, and that Sam linebacker is lined up on the line of scrimmage, outside eye of the tight end, that guy's job is to set the edge. So as you press that, you want to get the backers running, but at the same time, hey, man, there's probably almost 100% certainty I'm going to cut back on this. And so you have to understand, kind of based on that defensive front, what my responsibility is and what the likelihood of me being able to take that ball outside or having to cut back. And you've got to learn those things. Part of it's trial and error. Part of it's just having a better understanding, a better feel for what's going on. Now, the concern is the Raiders couldn't block their way out of a wet pepper sack. And like I've got a couple of guys on there. Daron Payne for Washington's a really good player. And I think they've got a bunch of really good players. But they don't have anybody other than Daron Payne, who's an absolute war daddy on that line of scrimmage. And their offensive line was awful. It was purely awful in this. So the combination of not being able to block anybody and then Ashton learning exactly what he is supposed to do, that's a bad combination right off the start. And I thought the right side of their offensive line with their right tackle and their right guard was just subpar at best. I mean, that's probably an insult to subpar things, but they were subpar at best.
Wow, that's saying a lot. So it's like you're not concerned about the kid's ability. He's just got some stuff to learn about playing running back in this league, and that kind of tracks with him coming off the field on third down and not being part of 2-minute drills as well, Mark. Or when talking to the coaches, did you pick up on that?
Yeah, I think, talking to both coaches with young running backs, it's not so much when they have the ball in their hands. They'll figure out what to do with the ball in their hands. It's how do you affect the game when the ball is not in your hands? How are you in blitz pickup? How are you with spatial awareness when you're running routes? Do you set guys up? When you find man versus zone, can you find a soft spot in a zone? Can you, run away from guys that are playing you in man? It's learning how to play the game without the ball in your hands. And you think about it, as a college player, when you're that gifted as a running back, you don't ever have to worry about not having the ball in your hands. You're always the primary. You're always involved. In the pro game, it's a little bit different. It's like that third receiver that you ask to run, routes that we call them for the love of the game routes. Your job is to run that route at full speed, even though you're number 3 or 4 in the progression. You're probably not touching the ball, but you're running that full route speed, or that route at full speed, and you drawing coverage and you holding coverage so we can get something behind you. Those things are dramatic. They're dramatic and they're so important. And I think that the average fan just doesn't understand the value you have in doing the dirty work so other people can succeed. It's one of the things I love about football, Rich, is that it is the ultimate team game. And if you've got selfish guys who are running half-assed routes because, oh, I'm not getting the ball and I'm going to pout, well, then everybody fails on the offensive side of the ball.
Mark Schlereth here from Fox Sports, just called Raiders Commanders. You have Patriots and Panthers this week, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. The Stinkin Truth is his podcast. What'd you make of the Lions win on Monday Night Football, Mark?
Man, they are so talented, especially offensively. And that first week of the season, we talked about the lack of continuity, new coordinators, all those different things. And, it looked to be what happened week one. But since that point, man, they have been on point offensively. And, just a tip of the cap to Jared Goff. And I've done so many Detroit games over the years and had such a relationship with not only Ben Johnson, but, obviously Dan Campbell, their head coach, and talked to Jared Goff many, many times. Jared Goff, when you talk to the powers that be in Detroit, they rave about his accuracy and just his toughness in the pocket. And there's a guy that can't run away from anybody, right? But can slide in the pocket, manipulate, and how he throws the ball into traffic as good as any quarterback in football. And if we're breaking down top 10 quarterbacks in the league, I don't know that he makes the top 5, but he's somewhere between 6 and 8, 6 and 9. He is that damn good at what he does, and they've surrounded him with great players. But his ability to operate that offense, be accurate with the football. Yesterday, it was the run game that really set them apart. And, as much as we talk about Detroit, you look at what's going on with the Baltimore Ravens here, lost that game to the Bills where they gave up over 40 in week one. And then here again, close to 40, 38 points they gave up again just 3 weeks or in week 3. So, like, the Ravens were a team that I think we all thought, hey, man, this is a Super Bowl contender. If you don't figure out what's going on the defensive side of the ball, and 2 really good opponents, to be sure, but, the Baltimore Ravens right now, you're kind of wondering what's going on there.
Yeah, 96 points they've allowed through 3 games. That's the most in franchise history through the first 3 games of the season. Now it's the Chiefs they're visiting. The Chiefs come off of that win against the Giants. We'll talk about them and their decision that was announced moments ago, or at least reported moments ago, about Jaxson Dart. But it's Chiefs-Ravens in Week 4, bud, and that's for the loser goes 1-3. And I'm wondering which one would you be concerned about going 1-3 the most, Mark?
That'd be the Chiefs. And, offensively, we've seen what they've been able to do. They've been a juggernaut for the last, 7, 8 years. I mean, they've been incredible. They're not incredible. And if you ask me to point one thing out offensively they've done well, I can't give you one thing that they've done well.
Right.
They haven't blocked anybody well. They don't run the ball well. I mean, going into last weekend, Patrick Mahomes was their leading rusher. So they don't really block anybody. Andy Reid has never really wanted to win by running the football. That's never been his thing. You saw the blow up on the sideline with Travis Kelce and Andy Reid, and Travis just does not look like he's got the same burst at the top of his route. That hasn't gone well, and you don't have a go-to guy. You don't have one thing that you do. And I always say this, just throughout my own career of playing offense, it's important to have one thing that you can hang your hat on. People always say, well, how do you fix this team's running game or this, whatever? And I go, find one thing. It's like Curly from City Slickers. Remember Curly from City Slickers? He goes, the key to life is one thing. And then he drops dead, right? Well, for me, football, the key to life is one thing. Find me one thing that we do well. And then we can change it up with formations and motions and shifts. But we just run that one thing, make it look like six things to the defense. But give me that one thing. Let me build my identity in that. And then all of a sudden I say, hey, man, let's run some play action off that. Let's learn play pass off that, run action, play action, whatever. But all of a sudden I can start building on something that I can hang my hat on. A tenant that I can hang my hat on. And right now, I look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I go, there is not one thing I can point to that I say, hey, man, they're really good at this.
Well, two things. First of all, of course, I remember Curly from City Slickers, the actor Jack Palance. He won the Oscar for that role. And by the way, spoiler alert, give somebody a heads up if you're going to talk about somebody saying a line and then dropping dead, Mark. I mean, I understand we're talking football here, but still, I mean, you gotta have your head on a swivel here if you're listening to Mark Schlereth. My gosh.
Right.
Okay, so you're concerned about the Chiefs more than the Ravens. I would get that too, especially because the Chargers are sitting there 3-0, having beaten every single team in the division.
Right.
And now here comes the Chargers going east. I'm surprised the Giants say, let's hit the Jaxson Dart button now. I know 0-3 doesn't look good, didn't look good in weeks 1 and 3. You could chalk up week 2 looking the way it looked for us because the Dallas defense is less than. But, I mean, to say to the kid, all right, go get him, and that Chargers defense is on the other side, that's a tall order, Mark. I'm wondering what your thought is on the Giants' decision here to start Jaxson Dart in week 4.
Well, I said it probably on the Stinkin Truth Podcast. I said it probably 10, 12 weeks ago. I'd have benched and cut Russ and started Jaxson Dart right off the bat. And one, I don't think the Giants are a really good football team. And I'm looking at the future, and the future is not Russell Wilson. The future is Jaxson Dart. So I don't blame them. And I look back to Sunday Night Football, and you get first and goal from the 4-yard line. And in several consecutive plays, you throw an incomplete ball that you threw so far out of bounds. I think you got an intentional grounding call on that to make it second and goal from the 14. You close your eyes and you bury your head in the middle line of scrimmage on a designed QB run, and you get 4 yards. And then you throw 2 more balls 8 yards out of bounds. And I'm sitting there going, at some point, you got to quit worrying about your legacy. And, hey, I've already thrown 2 interceptions. I'm going to throw another one. At some point, you got to put it on a receiver. You got to throw it into traffic, and you got to give yourself a chance to score. At that point, it was 22-9. I mean, that in and of itself, to me, was a benchable offense of your quarterback. That's a quarterback that's what are you doing throwing the ball out of bounds in those 3 situations? On 4th down and goal, you threw it out of bounds 8 yards deep, 8 yards over the head of anybody else on 4th and goal. You tell me what you're doing. Other than saying, hey, man, I don't want to have, a legacy breaker by throwing one more pick. I mean, for crying out loud, I've already thrown 2. What are we doing? What are we doing? So that to me is the ultimate selfishness.
No, I understand.
That's selfishness.
Mark, I understand what you're saying, but this is still the future, and you got to give the kid a chance. And he might come out and look great, and this could be a cold take, right? But you've seen the Chargers defense. There's some grown ass men, and
yeah.
they were the top scoring defense in the NFL last year. They look just as good this year, and I mean to basically say go get them. I understand it's a benchable offense from Russ. You got the Saints the next week. I don't know. I guess this way you get 2 starts on your belt, 1 on the road, 1 at home before you take on the Eagles twice in 3 weeks, and then the Broncos are in the middle of that.
Yeah,
and you know how good that defense is as well, Mark. So
yeah, there was no easy situation, and that's one of the reasons I said I'd start it from day one, because their schedule is brutal. It's absolutely brutal, and so everybody had talked about that New Orleans game maybe being that as the headliner, but maybe you go get a feel for this against the Chargers, and then you've got an opportunity to win at New Orleans, but it's not going to be easy. And then you mentioned it. You got San Francisco, you got Philly twice, you got the Packers, who up until last weekend were the best team in football, in my opinion. And then, Chicago and hey, Matt Eberflus, by the way, finally figured out how to get the best of Caleb Williams, didn't he?
Wow.
Congratulations.
Mark
He finally
Schlereth.
He finally figured out. You know, it took him all last year. He never quite got it. But hey, listen, man. Now he finally got it. Congratulations to Matt Eberflus and Caleb Williams for figuring it out together, man. What a unbelievable opportunity and what a unbelievable showing from the quarterback.
Now, Mark, I called a game last year in which Caleb Williams threw 4 touchdown passes against the Jaguars for Matt Eberflus. So,
okay.
But I know what you're saying.
It's the second time. It's the second time Matt has had him play well.
That hurts.
Okay.
That hurts.
All right. But so that is the one thing, and and then I'll get close to letting you go here, Mark Schlereth. The Cowboys' back end of the defense, without Micah on the front end of the defense, is a bad recipe right now. And with CeeDee Lamb being out, I am genuinely concerned for the Cowboys. Tell me if I'm right or wrong here, Mark.
Yeah, no, you've got every right to be. And ultimately, I mean, the Cowboys defense is giving up explosive plays on the defensive side of the ball like it's their job. I mean, it's one after the other. It's a 20-yard gain. It's a 40-yard gain. It reminded me, watching that tape, it reminded me of, one of those Christmas shows that Oprah Winfrey, like, you get 40, you get 20, you get a 20-yard gain, you get a 20-yard gain, you get a 40-yard gain, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown. It's just been, it's been mind-boggling, the amount of breakdowns they've had, the amount of missed assignments they have, and then, ultimately you look at a guy like Diggs who just isn't right. You can tell that he's not 100% coming off the ACL. He's been getting, they just run by him it's just unbelievable to watch that stuff. So their defense is struggling. They're giving up all kinds of big plays. And I'm with you, man. I'm really concerned about the Dallas Cowboys because I thought with Dak back, if they had that defense squared away, a little bit better running game, they'd be okay. But Dak's not going to be able to overcome 8, 10, 12 big plays a game, explosive plays a game.
All right, before I let you go, Eagles, Bills, Chargers, Colts, Bucks, Niners. I believe I'm getting all the 3-0 teams right here. There's some 2-1 teams like the Rams who almost made sure the Eagles weren't on that undefeated list. And you got, again, the Lions we saw last night, 2-1. There's another handful of 2-1 teams that I'm not talking about right here, I'm sure. Which is the best team in the NFL through 3 weeks now, do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I would probably pick the Bills for what they've done. The Eagles right there. The Eagles were so impressive because they really didn't look very good for 3 quarters. And then it was like, we know how to win. We know what we're doing. Let's flip the switch and let's go quit, messing around. And that's an impressive victory over the Rams. But I'd probably give it to the Bills, number 1, probably Eagles, number 2.
Okay. And what do you think of when you see Jordan Davis at 336 pounds do what he did as a big man, Mark? What are you thinking?
I think, thank goodness I don't play this game anymore.
Come on now. Look at a big man with football. 4th heaviest man in the history of the National Football League to have a thick 6 of 50 or more yards. Period.
Can you imagine being that big and fast and strong?
Scooped it up. He scooped it too.
You can't imagine that, but I can because
Nice.
I was that big, fast, and strong. I actually covered kickoffs as a rookie for the Washington Redskins. R1, running down, busting wedges at 285. I was only 285. I was a skinny guy back then.
Nice. The man, the myth, the legend. Stinkin Truth Podcast with Mark Schlereth. Thank you. Or Big Fat Rob Lowe. I believe
Big Fat Rob Lowe.
I believe Smitch is. Look at that, dude.
Look at that guy.
Who would be
Hello, sexy.
What a unit.
That's you.
Yeah.
Big Fat. That's I don't. Who calls you Big Fat when you're looking like that? This isn't from Idaho. Is that what I'm saying? Right.
That was in high school. I was 17 right there.
You were in high school?
At about 220.
Damn.
That doesn't even seem fair.
Yeah.
The other 17-year-old.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't fair.
That's not fair.
It wasn't. It's not fair.
Okay.
No.
All right, Big Fat Rob Lowe. I will have to push back on that.
0% fat Rob Lowe is what that
Yeah,
is.
right.
Okay.
Shredded
All right,
Rob
Mark.
Lowe.
Great to chat with you, man. You be well.
You too. Take care.
There he is. There he goes. Check him out on Fox for Patriots and Panthers. Panthers coming in with some momentum off of that one.
I feel bad that Mark has to watch that game.
And the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.